You know, there are verses in Scripture that tell stories, and then there are verses that feel different, like they're engineered. Today we're diving into one specific verse from the Quran that is so notoriously difficult, it's actually earned a very special nickname. We're going to unpack its hidden code, layer by layer, and what we find is an absolutely incredible feat of linguistic and psychological design.
So here's the big mystery. Why on earth does this one verse, out of thousands, get called the memorizer cracker? I mean, this is a name given by people who dedicate their entire lives to memorizing the Quran. So if they're struggling with it, you know something unique is going on. What is locked inside this verse that trips up even the most dedicated mind?
Okay, this is it. Surah An-Nisa, verse 143. The key part, which you see here, sounds something like Muzebzebine bayna zalika la ilaha ula'i wa la ilaha ula'i. Now, a rough translation is about those who are wavering between this and that, belonging neither to these nor to those. But honestly, the meaning is just scratching the surface. The real secret is encoded directly into its sound, its structure, and its very logic.
Let's start with the first and most challenging word. This is kind of our entry point into the whole code. The entire verse really pivots on the feeling this one word creates in the mouth of the person speaking it. It is a masterpiece of phonetic engineering.
Muzebzebine. This word was not some random choice for wavering. No way. The source material we're looking at suggests it was chosen to physically simulate the very act of indecision. So the key isn't just what it means, it's what it does.
The linguistic concept at play here is onomatopoeia. The root of the word, zebzebe, is literally a sound word. When you say it, and you should try it, your tongue literally flaps back and forth. Zeb-ze-be. You feel that? It's a physical vibration, a back and forth motion built right into the sound itself.
So, you see? The verse doesn't just tell you about people who are wavering. By forcing you to pronounce this word, it makes you experience the physical sensation of wavering. That state of indecision is no longer just a concept, it's a vibration in your mouth. It's just brilliant.
Okay, so that was just one word. Now let's zoom out and look at the architecture of the whole sentence. If that first word was a vibration, the full verse is like a perfectly balanced machine. Think of it like a pendulum, swinging at a perfect symmetrical arc.
The structure is a perfect mirror. You have la ilaha ha'ula'i on one side and wa la ilaha ha'ula'i on the other. Not to these and not to those. It's built like a scale with two identical weights, holding you perfectly and pretty agonizingly right in the middle.
And this is exactly why it's so hard to memorize. Your brain is constantly searching for a place to rest, for some kind of resolution. But the verse offers you nothing. It swings you from one negative to another identical negative, leaving your mind just suspended in midair. There's no solid ground. The grammar itself forces you into the mental state of the person being described, someone who just can't land on either side.
But it gets even more precise. The timing, the actual rhythm of the words imitates the physics of a pendulum. You have this long, slow, 5-syllable windup, Muzebzebine. That's the pendulum reaching its highest point, hesitating. And then comes the fast release, La ilaha ha'ula'i. That's the rapid swing down. The engineering here is just staggering.
So we've seen the sound code and the structural code. Let's move to the third layer and see how this all builds up. The deep, psychological state this verse is actually defining. This is where we understand the true torment being described.
The core concept here is a Turkish word, koordinatsizlik. It means being without coordinates. Just think about that. Everything in the universe has a position, a place on a map. But this verse describes a human state that is fundamentally unplottable, a person who exists without any defined location.
And the verse achieves this through a systematic process of elimination. It says they are not with the believers, okay. Then it says they are not with the non-believers, fine. But crucially, it doesn't even grant them the space in between. It defines them only by what they are not, which leaves them in an absolute void.
So the ultimate punishment being described here isn't fire or damnation. It's something far more existential, the torment of not belonging. The verse codes a lack of identity, a lack of position, as a chaotic and agonizing state of being. It's not a static place. It's a constant, restless vibration in a void.
All right, now for the final layer, where this all comes together. Let's look at this not just as a sentence, but as a kind of divine algorithm, a piece of code that when you run it, produces a very specific and inescapable logical outcome.
Let's think in binary terms for a second, like a computer. A believer is 1, a non-believer is 0. Simple enough. But the state this verse describes is not 1 and not 0. In any logical system, that's an impossibility. It's a paradox. It's a system error, a bug in the code of identity itself.
And what's the result of that bug? An infinite loop. That perfect mirrored grammatical structure we saw earlier doesn't just create a pendulum swing, it creates a logical infinite loop. You go from not this to not that, and because both sides are identical negatives, the logic just sends you right back. There is no escape clause, there's no exit. This creates the final state. Imagine a single ping-pong ball trapped between two perfectly mirrored, unbreachable walls. It's not chaotic, it's perfectly, tortuously ordered. It's condemned to bounce between two identical states of not here and not there, forever.
So, what have we uncovered? This verse is so much more than a description. Through its sound, its rhythm, its symmetrical structure, and its flawless logic, it runs a simulation. It forces the reader, and especially the memorizer, to experience a microdose of what it feels like to be trapped without identity, without position, without rest.
And that leaves us with a final thought, doesn't it? This level of multi-layered psychological and structural engineering in a single line is just astonishing. Makes you wonder, if this much code is packed into the memorizer cracker verse, where else in ancient texts might these divine algorithms be hiding? Just waiting to be unpacked?